You're listening to the Board Game Snobs podcast, a ridiculous podcast with ridiculous hosts that discuss ridiculous things. And any mention of board games is purely coincidental. And so, without further ado, and with a heavy dollop of shame and embarrassment on my part, I give you the Board Game Snobs.
We're back. Like we were never even gone. This is Jerry, Board Game Snobs.
Hello, this is Gabby.
I was going to introduce you. Why don't you let me introduce you?
Okay, go ahead.
Well, you already introduced yourself. We'll do it next time.
Okay.
We're back from NOLA, as they say, and the St. Tammany Parish, for which we were vacationing. No, I won't say we were vacationing. It was a vacation. We were out partying in Louisiana, and this is our first episode of the new year. We're back.
Congratulations.
We have made it once again. And I have deep thoughts about our activities that took place
Deep thoughts
in Louisiana, none of which I will talk about on this particular episode. We'll save it for the next one. That's called teasing.
I have thoughts about roast beef.
I know you ate a poor boy with roast beef, and I'd like to know exactly what. I don't know why I did not know. First off, I'll admit my ignorance. I thought a po' boy was traditionally always shrimp.
I mean, whenever somebody says po' boy, that is what I think of.
But you had one that was roast beef, which makes me think you didn't have a po' boy. I will look up what really makes a po' boy. Tell me your thoughts on roast beef.
Overview, po' boy. A po' boy is a sandwich that originated in New Orleans. It's made with meat, usually roast beef, ham, or fried seafood.
And so it can be either or.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be shrimp.
I don't like that.
Don't shrimp shame.
I don't like that at all. That's like saying a BLT could be without the T.
Well, the reason I chose the roast beef is because I like a juicy sandwich.
Ew! Oh, you like a hamburger.
Like drippings to be dripping off the sandwich.
I'm anti-dripping. I would assume you're a dripping person.
I mean, I like the cheese and the mayonnaise or whatever dressing they put on there, the tomato juices, all the juices.
Nope.
To drip down my chin as I bite into it.
Nope, because that would mess up my drip.
The type of the bread, I don't know if it's just French bread or what.
No doubt.
It's very good. And it was one of the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had.
But it was
a place called The Bears.
It wasn't a roast beef. It was a po' boy.
A roast beef po' boy. I don't know what makes it
that's what I want to see. That's what I don't like about it. Was it just a roast beef sandwich, or was it an actual po' boy? Because if so, is this like one of those things where po' boys, not every po' boy has roast beef, and not every roast beef is a po' boy?
Apparently so. I believe what makes it a po' boy is probably the spices, because they put something on the bread, they put something on the meat.
I'll give that. Okay, I'll allow it. I do not like the fact that I do not know if I were to order a po' boy that I would not be given. Like, for instance, if you order a Reuben, I know what I'm getting. It's just variations.
Reuben stuttered.
A variation of the ingredients that one might have. But if I order a po' boy, the main meat, the main protein, I do not know what it is unless I specify.
The original sandwich the Martin Brothers offered back in 1929, they offered free sandwiches to strikers. Apparently they had a big strike, streetcar workers.
Oh, I thought they were into soccer.
The Martin Brothers offered free sandwiches, typically include fried potatoes, gravy, and roast beef. So the shrimp, not even mentioned.
So where'd the shrimp come from?
You know how things evolve.
But yeah.
Somebody been into it and said, you know what, make this better? In my opinion, IMO, shrimp. I disagree. I think it's perfected already with the roast beef.
So the question remains, did I have a po' boy or not, since I lacked the roast beef?
The term poor boy came from a kitchen worker who would yell, "Here comes another poor boy," when a striking union Thank you. Member ordered a sandwich.
Mm.
There you go.
So
they didn't have a job.
It's derogatory.
They were on strike.
It's derogatory.
It's a po' boy sandwich. Here comes another po' boy.
It was a slur sandwich.
Poor boy. So it went from poor. Here comes another poor boy.
Poor.
Poor.
Poor?
It's Poor.
Poor.
Is it Coors Light or Coors Light?
Are you saying you call people the poor? You call them poor?
Poor.
You've been playing a lot of Jaipur? No, it's poor. You're poor, right?
Don't ask me. I think it could be either way.
But you pour somebody a drink.
That's Pour.
But you're pouring, but you could also
Pouring
be...
for the poor?
Yes.
And look at their pores on their face.
I hate
all
the English
same,
language.
All the same.
It's so that. I don't know about that.
Poor. I think it probably should be poor.
Arms for the poor.
But then tour, Tour, the same as poor, Pour, is tour, not tour.
This is why the English language is what it is.
And we weren't going to discuss New Orleans, except you got my glands salivating.
We didn't discuss New Orleans. We discussed sandwiches.
My glands are salivating.
Speaking of glands.
Do glands salivate?
Yes. What was that?
Windows update? No. Quiet down, you. Turn off all notifications. It won't let me do it. It says no, bro.
It needs you to be notified. So this is the New Year's, right? And traditionally, people like to come up with resolutions or things they're saying they're going to start or stop or whatnot.
Right.
I myself find this to be quite frustrating and very tiresome. And this was a thing I wish we would all stop doing, because it's if you're going to change something, you don't need the new year to remind you of it. Just start doing it.
Just do it.
Do it. But
we've discussed this before as well.
Often, what we haven't discussed.
People like a good hard start date.
Which I don't like. Obviously, what we haven't discussed is what we're not changing. And that's what I'm going to talk about, is what I am not changing about myself.
Okay.
I should have thought this ahead, but I didn't. But there's things that I'm resolute in keeping. For instance, why? Well, I mean, yes, I think one should be progressive and try to figure out what you need to change in your life. For instance, I have started working out again, not because it was the New Year's, but simply because my daughter has a class of an evening. I take her to said class, have the option to sit in the car for an hour, or I can go to the gym down the street. I go to the gym down the street so I don't waste my time. It's an easy thing. I did not go, this is the new year and this is a new, no, I'm just doing this because it is convenient to me.
That's called a twofer.
Correct. Now, things that I do not want to change, that I refuse to change, that would be more interesting of a resolution. Is there anything that you would not want to change about yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, no, I think I want to change everything.
See, I find that question to be more enlightening, because I find that people who are unable to answer that, such as yourself,
here we go,
not only have low self-esteem, but they also have a misconception of themselves, because it is illogical to assume that everything about you is deficient.
Everything is deficient.
But
iron, vitamin D.
That cannot be the case, though. There must be one thing for which you are satisfied in yourself.
That's a good question.
And that is what I would like to pose to our listeners. Instead of all this change.
So but you don't know what you want to keep yet, or do you?
Oh, there's so much.
Everything?
There's so much. So all the things for which I often look upon and go, man, it'd be nice if no, I've realized that is my personality. Why am I trying to change it? For instance, my constant jumping from one thing to the next of like, I'm going to do this for a little bit. And then I go to this next thing. And then I go to this next thing. And I played this game for a while and I like it. But then I'm going to go over here and do this thing. And it's like, well, if you just stay focused and pay attention to this one thing, you know what? That's quite charming of me. That gives me a broad range of experiences. It's something that I enjoy. Why am I wanting to restrict my enjoyment?
If there's one thing you really enjoy about yourself, it's that.
It's not just that. There's a lot that I enjoy about myself. There's tons of things.
You really enjoy yourself.
Yes.
You find pleasure in yourself.
I do. And you know what? That's another thing I'm not changing. I am not changing the fact that I enjoy myself.
I'm glad you enjoy yourself. And I think that's a positive quality.
It is. More people should be like me.
They should not be like me.
No, they should be like you. Are you?
I don't know. And I asked that question, who is me?
You are
all the time.
Well, here's the thing.
Who am I?
You are what you are. Then that's all that you are. That's like Popeye.
That's like yam. I am what I am.
And you should eat more yams and spinach.
I eat lots of spinach. I don't like yams.
So, for instance, here's what another thing.
I don't like sweet potatoes.
And this is my theory.
But I do like potatoes.
This might help you.
In all forms.
This might help you and your listeners.
Mashed.
We were texting a few days ago. And you texted me your weight. And we're like, I'm going to start dieting. This new year, new me. I think that by focusing hyper focus, so they say, on a task or goal like that, sets yourself up for failure. I think you should be satisfied. Now, when I say satisfied, I don't mean inactive. I mean, this is what it is. This is what I'm going to do to change it. You set up a system for change and you go about it. And the results are what they are. This is just you. And in that way, you have very little pressure on yourself. There's no sense of, well, I have to do this thing, or if I don't do this, I won't feel good, or when I fail, I'm going to No, it's you want to lose some weight. Instead of having this hyper-focused talking about it thing, no. You set up a system of what you're going to do, what you're going to restrict yourself from doing, and then what you're going to do, and you let the cards land where they may.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people propose you do, in that you make micro changes instead of, which I have the tendency, like many do, to go from 100 to 0 or 0 to 100.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. You just need to do 25%.
Just make it 10.
Yeah, that's it.
10%.
That's all you need. That's all you need to
10% of change.
That's all you need to do. And in that small 10% change, you will see some results, and that may snowball into something more. And I think that's what ends up happening, is that when you look at this time where everybody's going, I'm going to start doing this thing, or I'm going to start doing, you end up just overshooting a problem, and you end up cutting into your personality. You end up cutting into yourself. And it becomes so difficult to change because you're trying to change an integral part of what you're dealing with, an integral part of your personality, which
big guy.
I'm not opposed to that at all.
Gobby's the big guy. That's everything. That's me. I remember running a half marathon and everyone say, keep it up, big guy. If I lose a bunch of weight, what are they going to call me? Keep it up, you.
Yes.
But I have no identity. My identity is my fatness.
Well, I'm saying, though, but you didn't used to always be fat.
No.
And we don't fat shame on this podcast.
Never.
It's just.
I used to be a striking young man.
You used to be. You still could. You couldn't be young.
Or have hair.
And if you're a striker, you'll get free pool boys, as we flushed earlier. That's why.
Or score goals.
There you go. Either way, my point being is that everybody gets into this thing of what do they want to change about themselves. I think at some point in time, we get so overwhelmed that maybe we just need to be a little bit okay with some things and change a small amount of these other, focus on one thing at a time and don't go 100% into it. Make small, reasonable changes.
I rarely give 100%.
There's no, but you don't give 100%.
40%.
But you don't, because you end up stopping.
40%, right.
So that's the point, is that the stopping is where it's at. It's just the consistent. If all you can give is consistently 1%, then just do that.
Done.
There you go.
So I'm going to cut back on everything 1%.
Right.
And give some things a 1% boost.
That's it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. See how hard that was?
I should have cut 1% off that po' boy I ate and saved it for later.
Now, I have gone down the rabbit hole, as one does with YouTube algorithms, for some reason, motivational speakers and things of that nature.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of a man named Andy Elliott?
No.
I would lay money down you have watched one of his YouTube
Possibly.
things. No, I guarantee you have. Because what it ends up happening, he's just a bald guy, looks like he got out of prison, and he wears very, very tight pants. And he always talks about salesmen. He used to be a car salesman. I think his claim to fame is like he's the biggest, made the most money as a used car salesman. And all of his advice is him.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I knew you'd look him up.
This guy?
That guy.
I do not like this man.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. So while I was doing this research of just watching random motivational speakers, first off, it's hilarious. Some of the things that people say, like absolutely hilarious. But I realized is that some people need that. And I'm not yucking somebody's yum, which is a term I hate. If you need that type of thing in your life where you've got somebody yelling at you or saying these platitudes to you that get you moving, whatever. But this whole thing of like alpha male salesman, that type thing, why is there not, and I think this might be a market we could tap into.
Beta male. Beta salesman. You can buy this if you want it.
Like,
it's up to you.
You're doing fine.
I prefer beta salesman.
Keep texting her. She'll call you back.
When you alpha sell me, I don't like it. No, don't come at me with the pressure.
And so why is there not like a YouTube algorithm? Listen, I think we could really we could make some money off this. Just appealing to beta males to continue their beta-ness.
I don't like that. When you said that, as I mentioned previously, me and my wife have been watching Survivor, catching up on old seasons.
Which are like 80, 100 of them.
What drives me crazy is when you have these people on the sidelines and they're cheering you on. You can do it. Don't give up. And you're clearly going to lose. Like this one lady just completely bombed at this one challenge. Everyone kept cheering her. And I'm like, I don't like that because it always sounds fake to me.
That?
Positive reinforcement. I'm not used to, perhaps. I'm used to negative reinforcement. But the cheering on, like if I'm in a race, when they said, you got it, big guy, I don't want that attention. Look away. Let me do this on my own. In that particular scenario. Lifting weights. I don't want to push myself. I don't want them saying, you can do one more. You can do one more. I don't like that. Maybe I can't do one more. Then I failed you.
Well, see, that's beta male.
Yeah.
Don't do one more.
Don't do one.
8 reps are enough.
Settle for 40%. That's the beta male salesman. That's
the beta male.
We can boost your sales 40%.
40%. Where, I think that this is an interesting phenomenon that has swept a lot of YouTube and people, is this motivational alpha male syndrome type stuff. When really, I think that what most people need is just genuine, I think positive reinforcement, but not what you're saying. I'm not saying, I don't want to even call it positive because that gives you the connotation of what you just described. I'm calling it, are you ready for this? Reasonable.
Reasonable expectations.
There was this reasonable enforcement. It's just, listen.
I wonder if his books would have sold as much if he had called it reasonable expectations.
Reasonable expectations. Listen, I know you're probably going to fail at this, some, but here's what you can look at and here's what you can be good at. Just do this. Don't try to be an astronaut. You could probably be really good at being a
Have you tried digging a ditch before?
Have you?
That's not an easy task.
You have asthma.
Physically.
You can't do this. You can't go into space.
Stick the shovel in the ground just one time, pick up some dirt.
Look how big your feet are. You could
push the shovel quite well.
Maybe one day you'll make ditch digger professionally. This is the type of thing I'm saying, is that this time of year, people get so wrapped up in making radical changes and being dissatisfied with themselves.
Reasonable change.
Just reason.
I agree.
Reasonable.
That what you have said is reasonable.
It is. It's so reasonable. In fact,
it's so reasonable. It should be like,
this is common sense stuff.
Common sense.
And this is why you come to this board game podcast, to get common sense from me. Do you know what? That's what I like about me. And that's something I will not change. I have always been the voice of reason and common sense on so many matters.
Always.
That I find that the pushback that I get is from people who are always, they're these alpha males that want to go way too far, or they're the ones that are just too weak-minded and too beta.
Maybe it's not maybe it's not so much that you like yourself. Maybe it's you're completely blind to all your faults.
No, I understand my faults. I just think that in the long run, do my faults outweigh the positives? And that's where it comes down to. I think really what happens is if you, for instance, and please don't take this as an attack.
Oh boy. That sounds like the flight attendant on the way back from New Orleans.
Well, Victor was looking out for you. And if people don't understand what happened on our flight back to New Orleans, and Victor, bless his heart, Victor, I'll tell this story briefly. But I had gotten some tickets on Spirit Airlines because Gabi is hellaciously cheap. And I used the tactic of waiting to the very last to inquire if they would allow us to sit in the exit row for free.
And I only said yes because I thought you got free alcohol on Spirit's Airlines.
No, they just have more leg room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you said yes, so you would have more leg room.
Yes, to the exit row.
Correct.
And also, yes, I will exit the plane if needed as swiftly as possible.
Then they set you down, and as you were struggling to get seated,
get seated,
to
belt the buckle. I had it maxed out. My girth is quite large, and I had to max it out. And I had to manipulate my body in such a way I could get it buckled.
Now,
There,
fascinating thing number one. All male flight stewardess, attendants,
Mm-hmm.
female pilot.
Was it really? I didn't notice the pilot.
You didn't listen. You think I'm not looking at who's flying me? Do you think I care who's going to bring me my drink or who's going to be able to land
I don't remember the pilot.
Who's in charge of the flaps?
That's because I was too flustered by what Victor said to me.
Victor, with a very, well, how would you call that accent?
Well,
Eastern European.
But before that, what had happened was, as I finally got it clicked, I happened to look up and over my right shoulder at about a 45-degree angle. And I saw Victor. He was staring at me with, it was one of the most unusual faces I've seen. It wasn't pleasant. It wasn't malice.
It was bewilderment.
It was simply
concern.
Not even concern. It was almost a completely non-expression face.
Well, here's what Victor said. He leaned. First off, Victor did a power move.
Well, then I turn around. I kind of look at him. I'm like, hey. And then I turn around and me and Jerry are just talking. Next thing I know.
Alpha move. Victor went to the seat in front of you, completely facing you, and sat with halfway in it. So he's leaning over the top of the seat in front of you. And he preferences this by saying.
Or preface.
I like to, what exactly he said?
He was French, actually.
He was not French. He's Russian. He's Victor.
He sounded French.
No, he was very Russian.
Russian French.
Very Russian. He was like, I like to make sure that in an emergency, I have your back. You have mine. So are you able to assist me if problems arise? And you're like, yes. He says, are you sure? No, see, that was the thing. He didn't just take yes. He wanted to, are you sure? Do you, he looked like, to be honest, he looked like he was after John Wick. He was one of those, he was a very intimidating looking flight dude.
He was intimidating. And he also, well, his first question to me was, how was your breathing?
Yes. Now.
And I was like, what?
Yes. He asked you,
you breathe okay?
Yes. That was odd.
And I was like, I'm good.
He really was watching you.
He was watching me.
Now, we could hold Victor. We could be angry at Victor because was Victor fat shaming you?
I think Victor was doing his job.
Victor, although I know you have a lot of malice towards him, Victor was being reasonable. He saw that you were put into the exit row and was worried that perhaps in a case of an emergency, you were going to get us all out. You were going to get us all killed, is what he was worried.
Yes.
But bravo to Victor.
He's going to block the exit row, is what he's
Bravo
thinking.
to Victor for being able to say, and I looked at Victor and be like, we got this. Like, look, and he's like, looked at me and was like, Laurel and Hardy. He was not impressed. But anyways, Victor went out there a little bit. He put himself out there to make sure.
I had to give out some false bravado. I
did.
Oh, yeah, I got this. No big deal. And I was trying to breathe normally.
I heard the hesitation in your voice when you told Victor this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got this.
Yeah. So, but also, I think the reason
After buckling my seatbelt.
I think the reasonableness that you then showed later was commenting about next time I'm just going to get the big seats. I'm going to pay and get the big seats.
Yeah. I'm not going to try and better myself. I'll just get the bigger seats.
Well, no, the bigger seats will ensure. Like you're not going to lose 100 pounds overnight.
You don't know. Well, no, not overnight.
And so you're like, well, this is what I'm going to do. But also, it was very obvious. You didn't take to Twitter and be like, oh, some attendant shamed me.
Spirit Airlines,
hashtag Victor. Yeah, because Victor
ruined my confidence.
Victor was looking out for you.
My libido.
And so let me just say, let Victor be the voice of reason in your weight loss journey. So next time when we fly.
As I'm working out, as I'm walking, as I'm not eating the sandwich that I want to, I hear his voice. Can you breathe?
He's like the Russian guy that Rocky fought. He's the Drago, whatever.
The who?
The Draco.
Draco, yeah.
Draco? What's his
Drago.
name? I can't remember.
Drago.
If he dies, he dies.
He dies.
If he sits in the exit row and he can't buckle his seat, he dies.
I could have swore he had a French accent, though.
No, he was very Russian.
I don't think so.
I know French. I've been around Bruno.
That's Canadian French. It's different.
But he taught me that the Canadian French, they speak the French in the back of their throat, and the French speak through their lips. They that. That's what he said. And this guy was Russian. Victor was Russian. Either way. So let's get off this. Let's get on to our Discord. Since I've included that are not going to have any resolution. Or also Daniel Dan Hines asked the question on our Discord back in Thanksgiving. And this is how far behind we are because we took a break. Typically, we put out a lot of content around the end of the year, but we did not this year.
We were not slinging tent.
We were not. Would playing the optimal strategy go against the spirit of the game? He's talking about how whenever you're playing a game, like not matching people's energy.
Mm-hmm. Was that when he was watching the World Series of Board Gaming? I think it was. But he was basically talking about perhaps you're playing a more of a lighter game, like Ticket to Ride, and you're playing it mean, like you're blocking people's routes and all that. Like, is that using the optimal strategy that do you use the optimal strategy? Is that okay? Sometimes when you're going against the spirit of the game, like is it a laid back game and you're playing mean? Like, how would you view that? So I would say that I personally like to match the energy of the game. So if you're being mean, I'm going to be mean. If you're being laid back, I'm going to be laid back. The problem is I have trouble matching energy. Like I can't match. I misinterpret. I match like a 5'6" balding guy on Tinder. I have problems. I can't get it. When you're saying match the game, you're talking about those playing the game around you.
Yes,
not
like
the game.
Like it's the negotiation game, and I'm thinking, okay, so we're going to be negotiating. This is hardcore. Mm-hmm. Like we were playing the Reiner Knizia animal negotiation game at Dice Tower Retreat, the Zuvadis. And very famously, I was all about it. Like I'm after it. I'm wheeling and dealing and being cutthroat, not realizing that perhaps not everybody at the table is as cutthroat as I, nor as into it. And a certain Jeff Knapp got the better end of that deal. So I have a problem matching energy. Like,
it's not a cooperative game.
No, but there's even you yourself have complained numerous times in negotiations games where I have been brutally deceptive.
Oh, that's why I don't like them.
Right. But some people will come to a negotiation game thinking that all negotiations are friendly and that there's no deception. And I come to every game with my bag of tricks.
Planning to lie.
Yes.
The trick is lying.
Yes, and not getting caught. That's the name of the game. It's not friendly. And so I try to match energy, which I think would be the answer to Dan's question, in every game. If it's a fun game and we're all being fun and stupid, then I'm being fun and stupid. If I detect a hint of seriousness, then I'm going through the jugular, and that's my problem. I don't always detect that, and sometimes I end up playing a game incredibly hard towards some individual and not realizing that I'm actually deteriorating the actual experience of the game.
I always play, I was going to say weak.
You do.
Negotiation games. I'm never cutthroat.
But.
And therefore, I am not in the lead of my own initiative. If I ever happen to be in the lead or leading or whatever, it's because two other people in the front have basically taken each other out.
So here's what I like to do in these games that I have found has helped me greatly. I've done this multiple times here recently. It's a fun little thing I've changed about myself. See? Is whenever I'm playing a game such as even Arcs or any other type of game which I know that there's conflict or the potential for conflict, I declare my intention outright. If we're doing something and it's like a Game of Thrones type game, I will say, listen, this is cutthroat, and I play this cutthroat. I intend to try to dominate this game this way. If I'm playing Eclipse, and Eclipse is a game where there can be a lot of combat, there cannot be a lot of combat, there can be a lot of fighting, I will declare outright, listen, I'm playing this game peacefully. If you attack me, I will attack back. I make this statement out loud so that people understand what I'm putting out there in terms of energy.
But what if I always feel like you're lying when you say that?
Yes, because I have lied to you. And to be honest, sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm playing 4D chess. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But people who don't know me, I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I say, listen, I'm not playing this aggressive. I am this. I'm just going to do my thing, or I'll just do the normal thing of saying, listen, I'm coming for you all. The cries of your women and children will be what I'm after, like the widows and orphans. Yes. I'm stacking bodies here.
All right. Yeah. I never believe you when you say that. And therefore, but I don't like to attack. The only person I like to attack first is Enrique, because Enrique always attacks first.
Yes, he does. My protege. And he's learned from the best.
Yes. And he's become quite good at those games. And
strike first, strike hard.
No mercy.
Cobra Kai. That's what?
Yeah. I am not that type of player, and therefore that's why I really don't like those type of games unless, there's certain games that lend into it, like Hansa Teutonica. You have to bump people out. You have to make moves. It's built into the game. There's other games like Eclipse. You can attack the pirates all the time. You can focus on, I don't know, you kind of have to attack to grow and
not necessarily. But here's a question for Mr. Daniel Hines. This is one for which I would be fascinated, and I'd pose to all of our listeners. Send us an email at boardgamesnobs@gmail.com, or just put it in our Discord. I'll read it eventually. Gambi has expressed here, of course, that he's not that type of person or player. I find that playing games and doing things that are not anathema, is that the right word, to your personality, that are not in line, you're doing something that's kind of freeing. You're playing something in a way that's how the game is meant to be played. I often hear people go, well, I'm not an aggressive player. Well, is that your personality, or is that how you're choosing to play? I think that if you're playing a game that is supposed to be aggression, then you need to free yourself of all your inhibitions and realize this is what the game requires. This is what I should be doing. And so when you say that, when you say, like, I'm not an aggressive player, what I hear is I don't like that type of game, and I choose not to play that way, which doesn't make any sense to me, because there's a lot of games that I don't like. I'm not very good at organizing things, but then I play a game that requires organization, and then that's what I'm all about. Like, I adapt to the game. I play the game. I play the players, not myself. It sounds like when you're saying that, you're meaning that you can only play a game that is in tune with your proclivities and your own likes. Am I misunderstanding that? I had a question out there.
Well, it might be something like that, but like there's some games when that's all it is. Like,
right, fighting.
Like,
yes,
X-Wing.
So when you get into that game and that's all that there is, you do all right.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what you do.
Okay. So your problem, what you're saying is not your problem, but what ends up happening is when there's multiple options, you'll always be peaceful?
Generally, like last light, when we played that game, I don't think I attacked purposely anybody. I tried the other avenues.
I would be fascinated in knowing that. I guess that's my question. What prevents people from being aggressive in games? Because I am ultimately concerned of everybody's fun. I'm trying to match the energy, but I have zero inhibition when it comes to attacking even the most weakest and ignorant of players. I'll go after anybody, and it doesn't bother me because it's the game. It is the agreement for which we've all come to this table.
Yeah. Well, it's not that I'm concerned about that. It's generally that I don't want the retaliation.
So you fear the comeuppance.
Yes.
Which is what I do not fear.
So generally what happens is I wait for someone to attack me. And then I was like that game of Arcs we played the first time. Yeah. Enrico attacked me. Enrico. Suarez. And the entire rest of the game, I simply focused on attacking him back to the detriment of everything.
Which I found fascinating because he attacked you very lightly. And then after that,
maybe I take it more I take it personally. But so then I'm not able to distinguish the game from something else.
Yes, I think it's
not within the rules of the game that I'm playing. I'm like, oh, he's attacking me. Why me?
You've saved me a lot of pontification just then, because that is the exact answer that I had come up with, is that some people cannot differentiate between it being a personal attack and just a game.
Yeah.
I have never felt personally attacked in a game, even when people whose names
attacking you.
in names for which I will not mention have gotten together before the game. And said, whatever happens, don't negotiate with Jerry, and whatever we're doing, we're going after Jerry. I do not take that personally. I take that as just meta the game. It's part of it. And quite frankly, I enjoy that. I enjoy the feeling of, now I shall overcome. This is also a result of my own aggression. This is it. This is the game. And thus this is how it should be played.
That should be the game.
Yes, that should be the game. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't like it when people don't play the game that way. They play it with a sense of, this is personal, when it's just business.
But that tells you pretty much everything about your personality and mine.
Right.
In that you're able to differentiate those things. You're not sensitive to that. Where apparently I'm sensitive.
Which
more than I realized.
Maybe that's something you should put that down as that 1% thing you can change.
Let me change that 1%.
And I will put that thing down on something I am not changing.
I want to desensitize myself.
I'm saying, yes, desensitize yourself by 1%. And that's,
I'm still trying to think of something about myself I wouldn't want to change.
I know that's
my truck driving skills.
You've watched a lot of Netflix and drove 18-wheeler. I am often just assumed you would die one day driving.
I did not do them at the same time. I simply had it playing in the background. While I was driving.
You had an extensive knowledge of Netflix movies and scenes.
This is completely random, but you were talking about things you were interesting. You go from interest to interest. My wife the other night.
My wife
simply asked me, "You think you could French braid my hair?"
Yes. The answer is yes.
And I said,
I eat
sure,
French bread.
Let me watch a video and we'll get right after this.
Get it.
I've braided rope.
Asking a bald man to braid hair is a bold move, Cotton.
I've never braided hair.
Okay.
And my wife doesn't have her hair is
greasy.
No.
I'm trying to help you. I'm joking.
No.
She has very dark hair.
No, it's
thin.
It's not, the opposite. Thick and wiry.
Oh.
So
she's like a fat Irishman.
According to the expression, she has lots of flyaways unless she straightens her hair.
Correct.
She
Split ends.
Has to straighten her hair. No.
You can tell I know a lot about hair. I'm spouting Pantene Pro V buzzwords that I've heard.
So last night,
are there parabens in yours?
I'm watching videos on how to braid hair.
Yes.
And the French braid is an advanced move.
Uh-huh.
An overhand braid is just the typical braid.
Correct.
So the guy was like,
Tom.
this is a Tom Braid. So, oh my God.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
So this guy's like, if you have never braided hair, first get good at that before you go for the French braid.
Definitely.
So I've been practicing braiding my wife's hair
Okay.
so that I can someday
This seems like a very intimate.
ascend to the French braid,
Yeah.
which is a little more of an advanced maneuver, like I said,
Correct.
because you're not just braiding, you're braiding and then you're bringing in other hair
Correct.
from the rest of the head so that the whole head is braided, not just a section.
Not just like the ponytail type thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm in the middle of learning. And I was practicing shortly before you showed up.
That explains so much. That explains so much.
But so I guess as far as interest, that's the only interesting thing I've really been up to lately.
Braiding
Braiding my hair.
your wife's hair.
My wife's hair.
Yeah.
We're one flesh.
But
One large flesh.
I'm just
Unfortunately for her.
the hair.
But not for long.
The
Yeah.
hair. The hair.
The hair
Braiding.
and the tortoise.
It's like I just imagine
You've never braided your daughter's hair?
Nope, because she has very straight hair and just doesn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
And so thus I'm not one to braid. I would assume I would be good at it.
Of course you
Yes,
would.
I would assume that I would be talented at
You
it.
would. Just a natural talent. Yet
Yeah.
another natural talent of
I'm
Jerry's.
just saying, it seems like
Something about yourself. I would not change my ability to braid hair
it sounds
naturally.
This is a thing for which I have never done.
It's harder than you think
I'm
because you
sure
got
it
to keep
is.
those three strands separate and they just, everything wants to go together and my fingers are not nimble and quick.
Which is me, Jack. Be
So
nimble,
it's just,
Jack.
anyway,
be quick.
it was interesting. Also, real quick, Daniel Hines Bond, again, he asked, who is on your game designer Mount Rushmore?
I've thought about this. I will allow you to answer.
There are several answers from our Discord.
I don't care about the people's answers. I care about ours.
Mine, you think you can guess one of them?
You want me to guess one of them?
Yeah. And here's the thing. I wish BG Stats would allow you to sort games by designer, and that's not a thing yet. They have it literally every other way except by designer. That would help tremendously. So this is in my mind, and I tried to look at all the stuff we've got, and then I'm trying to like quantify, okay, what makes a good design? And Jerry has this thing, a designer should have 3 games that are of good quality before they're a designer.
That is my own.
I know. So I'm just trying to think of, 3 good games. I know each of these people have at least 3 good games that I enjoy tremendously.
So how many? You have only gotten 3?
Well, no, I've got 4.
Okay, I'm about to say because Mount Rushmore, I believe, is 4.
Yeah, it is. My first one, just take one guess.
Well,
And if you miss on one, then I'll just say it.
okay. Well, Reiner Knizia.
Correct.
Okay, so there's one.
Knizia, Martin Wallace, Simone Luciani, and Cole Worley.
Okay, you have literally named all 4 of mine as well.
Oh, but there you go.
And so but because when I was making my list, of course, naturally, Martin, I've always said is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, of course, all the props that he must be given for all the economic gains for which he's ever made. The one that caught me off guard, I think, was Simone Luciani. It took me a while to realize that, no, he's been an OG in the past, and everything that his regarding like Grand Austria and Magnifico and Barrage, like, okay, obviously he's in there. Reiner Knizia, I will say this to anybody who decides to do their top 4 designers or the Mount Rushmore. If Reiner Knizia is not on your list, you're deluded. Because this man has made so many games. I do not know anybody who would not put him.
But is he good, though?
We've had that discussion, and I just cannot. Now, and Cole Worley was the one that kind of caught me off guard. Now, I am somewhat shocked that that you would say Cole Worley, though. I would not have picked him for you. Why? Because I only know like one game of his that you really like.
I like Arcs.
Okay.
I like
PAX.
PAX.
Okay.
And I can't remember the third off my head.
Well, John's company pushed him over for me as well. Root was the other one, which even though I don't particularly like Root, I think that it's hard to argue. I don't like it because I don't want to say I don't like it.
Well,
It doesn't meet our groups.
There's a lot of designers that I could like hit 2 games with.
Mm-hmm.
They have like 2 big hits. But my thing with John Company and Root, they're games I admire. They're games that I've played and have enjoyed. They're not necessarily my favorite, but I really do like Arcs a lot. And I do like, I forgot the other one.
Yeah.
Pax Premier. I like Pax Premier a lot.
Arcs. He also, like I said, John Company. Oath was the one that didn't really land with us, but he also did, I'm trying to see if there's something else that he did that was not.
Fort?
No, I don't think he did Fort.
Oh.
No, he's all I'm finding on his stuff is mainly Root, PAX, the various PAX premieres, and Molly's House is the new one that's coming out that nobody's played. Infamous Traffic was one. You may have played that. But but his 3 games hit with me. I think you've got him confused with somebody else. There's only 2 games of his that you even somewhat like. Because he doesn't have anything else besides that.
Oh, well, there you go.
But here's the 2 people that instead of looking at the list and going, who would I add? I looked at who I would exclude. And there were 2 people on that list that really, like Stefan Feld, if we're being realistic, even though I personally, if this list would be completely different, if I were to go put the Mount Rushmore of the most influential people on there, because I would argue that, yeah, Reiner and possibly Wallace would be on there, but there's no taking back that Stefan Feld would definitely be on there, as well as Uwe Rosenberg. And those are 2 that, even though I have a lot of their games I truly enjoy, there's also some ones that are newer ones or up-and-comers that I feel like are just, not only say that they're new, but they're just killers, such as the guy who did Anachrony, Tassini.
Oh, he did the soul.
Turksy,
yeah.
And as well as the guy who does all the solo stuff with.
Oh, that is David Turksy.
Normandy, yeah. But there's also the there are just several of them that are just on the cusp of greatness that would be up there. But no, my personal list is Martin, Cole, and Reiner, and of course Tassini. But if it was going to be a big universal, we have to all agree, then of course I would pull Tassini and Cole off there and put in Feld and Uwe, because I think that would just be a generic universal who's the best of the best and the most influential. And I'm sure we're missing several others off there. But either way, no, that's a fascinating thought. Often it's not just who's made your favorite game, but how many great games they've made. And Reiner has certainly made a lot of great games.
And like Shim, I've played a bunch of his games.
Shim's really good.
I keep wanting to give First Light to him. That's
what's his face.
McDonald.
That's Roy.
Not First Light, Circadian's First Light.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not Last Light. Roy made the last one.
I'm going to make a game that be Middle Light.
Middle Light.
Yellow Light.
Miller Light. I like that game.
Ultra expansion.
That's Michelob.
I know, it's stupid. I was hoping you didn't notice.
Okay. So then on our Discord.
To
finish out.
Please do.
Catching up that we have needed to do on Discord. David Allen posed 2 questions, one of which is very lengthy, and he wanted us to do like hardest game to learn, easiest game to learn, meanest game that felt the longest, all these different things, which is a nice idea for future podcast episodes, but that takes a lot of time and thinking to do. Basically, posed our Bubba top 5s, which is, as I posted, there's the pliers. Last game you played, board game antonyms, your favorite movie, board game you want to see made into a movie, and your favorite thing you're enjoying right now, and it can be anything.
We're going to get Bubba back on.
So many of these, I'm going to go through just a few of these. Daniel Hines Bond.
This is just his episode.
World Wonders is his last game played. Board game antonym, passivism. It's down force. I don't get that one.
Passivism?
Oh, passive force.
Yeah.
I got you.
I was about to say down fascist.
Favorite movie. Blade Runner. Board game he wants turned into a movie, Cora Quest.
Oh.
And his number one's redacted for legal reasons. So what they did after that was they decided they should blank the antonym out so that we don't guess it. So I would do that. Last game played by Tyler from Chicago, Sky Team. And again, this is November, so this is all defunct by now. His antonym is imitation.
Imitation?
What's the opposite of imitating? And I don't know because I haven't clicked it yet.
Of imitating? Well, it'd be, if you're not impersonating something, you're not in. Wait. So you said intimidation?
No, imitation.
Imitation. So you're doing the opposite of imitating. You're going the opposite. Boy, this is a good one.
What's the opposite of imitating? If I'm not imitating you, I hate you.
No, you're acting completely opposite of it.
The opposite of enemies.
No.
That's not a game anyway.
You're just saying a word. Imitation. No breathing.
I don't know.
Click it.
Answer is innovation.
That's excellent. That is very, very good. I like that a lot. That is true.
His favorite movie after Lord of the Rings. Game he'd like to see made into a movie, Nemesis. And thing he was into at the time, Christmas decorating. So you can see this is somewhat late. All right, Duran Phoenix. His last thing he plays Marvel Heroes United. Star Trek Federation Defense.
Star Trek.
Star Wars.
Imperial
Assault. There you go. That's good. That's
a good one.
I like
That's
the antonyms. So I'm just going to go with the antonyms.
I hate antonyms.
And his favorite movie is Lord of the Rings as well.
Gotta watch that one these days.
Aristia, I never heard of that game. And Gunpla Kits. He keeps posting. Those are like those giant robots.
I've
from
seen
anime
those.
movies
I
or
wanted to
something.
put one of those together one day, but I just can't.
Ryan Maxwell. Last thing he played, in-person Dinosaur Tea Party online. NAR. Negligibly micro unfortunate sphere. Macro.
Okay, micro, so big.
Large, lucky, square. Large, lucky squares. I don't know what negligibly.
I don't know.
Large, lucky squares. Squares. Something square? The opposite of sphere is square, right? You would think.
Circle, flat.
Flat. Large, lucky flats. Flatlands.
Fortunate. Fortunate. Badlands.
Unfortunate sphere.
I don't know.
Super mega lucky box.
Oh,
I would have never guessed that.
yes. I'm sorry.
His favorite movie is The Princess Bride.
I know.
Game he'd like to.
I'm on fire.
Game.
I wouldn't change that about me either. What?
I would have thought that was more Star Wars. I know. That's Han to Leia. Does he say it too?
Isn't it the first of
His is As You Wish.
Oh, yeah, I got those confused.
I think so. Camel Up's what he'd like to see made into a movie.
That'd be
And his son being home for the first time since we dropped him off at college in New York. He's
Little Ryan.
joining right now. Let's see if anybody else blanked out the antonym answer.
No, we're good.
All right. But I had some myself.
What's that?
Antonyms. Oh, this is my top 5.
Oh, you're doing your Bubba top 5?
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Last game played. I didn't write it down. Okay, well, not playing on BJ. Last game I played was Fire Tower. First time I ever played that game.
Good.
Liked it quite a bit. It's very simple, kind of kid game. Board game antonym. I've got a few of these. The Devil Mother.
Godfather?
Here you go. Paupers.
That'd be rich, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Paupers?
But if you're not a pauper,
You're wealthy. You're rich. You're fortunate. You're
maybe of a certain class.
aristocrats.
Uh-huh. What would they
Royals.
be? There you go.
Okay, gotcha.
Over fire villages.
Underwater city. That would be a great game over fire villages.
Okay, last movie
Those are good.
favorite.
I don't know why that's funny.
My favorite movie I watched recently, just because it's the most recent movie I've watched, and I liked it quite a bit. Wild Robot. That was a really good show.
You should about that.
Game I'd like to see turn into a movie, Dune Imperium. Get it? Just kidding. I put Captains of the Gulf. I don't know. Basically, Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump out there the whole time. I'd watch that.
They've made that. That's that fishing show on that.
Perfect Storm.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the fishing show. They're out there shrimping their crab. Dangerous catch. Deadliest catch.
And then the thing I'm into right now, I've been learning, I forgot about this, I wrote down. Besides braiding hair, I've been learning additional line dances.
Additional line dances?
There's one called The Rude Dude, which is dance to a song called Church. There's one called Slow Wind and Men in Black.
So why are you learning line dances?
Because Sade has been hanging out with other people, and then she brings them home to me, and then I have to learn them as well.
Okay. I'm sorry. The way you worded that, you said Sade's been hanging out with other people, and she brings them home to me. I thought she was bringing people home, and you're like, okay, let's line dance. I thought that would be that's a baller move there.
Initiation.
A new person. Do you know the rude dude? And you just get out there and got the karaoke machine blaring.
If you don't pass the rude dude test, you're out.
If you don't line, we don't come in.
No, she's simply been hanging out with friends, and they like to dance together.
What kind of honky tonk she been going to, learning line dances. Well, basically, that's TikTok.
That's what kids do today.
That's TikTok stuff.
Yeah, they dance like...
We've gone backwards.
The days when I was a teenager...
We did a Charleston.
The electric slide...
Yeah.
Is about
that was
the
it.
Tootsie Roll.
The electric slide was it, though.
The Tootsie Roll.
Hang it back now, y'all.
And then, come on, everybody now. Like some
that
train song. But anyway... Yeah, there was more like freestyle back in my day.
We like to have fun then.
But nowadays, it's all about the line dances. There's a large quantity of line dances.
Well, I'm glad you're learning additional line dances. I myself know 0 line dances. I could not learn additional ones. I would have to be learning the initial line dance.
I know several line dances. And
there's line dancing, and then there's square dancing.
Mm-hmm. I don't know square dancing.
I want to know why one's a line and one's a square, and why did we skip the other?
Because I think square dancing, you literally make a square, kind of like a waltz.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Not that a waltz
There's no circle dancing. There's no triangle dancing.
There might be.
Triad dancing.
I don't know about circle.
Well,
circle dancing is just called... I don't know.
That's what they used to. That's like they do that, don't they? Sort of
spherical dancing.
Yeah, they do that. I don't. What did they do in the old days? Like you seen them?
Were they like lock arms and go in a circle?
Yeah, that. I would say that's
like ritualistic.
Spherical in nature.
Circular in nature.
Well, same.
All right. Well, we're caught up on some of our Discord questions.
Next week, tune in for our NOLA trip.
Part 1 or all of it?
Probably part 1. It's going to be long. The first...
There's a bunch of games played.
No, I'm not talking about games. The first episode is just going to be me talking about Larry.
Okay.
My new friend.
All right. That's going to do it. Unfortunately, Enrique could not be here. I don't know where he's at, what he's doing, but he probably won't be here for the next few episodes either.
Unless he shows up.
He's working.
He's not working.
He's playing.
He's doing... You know how he is. He's living that life.
Enrique,
Don't worry. I have thoughts on Enrique.
What have you been doing, Enrique?
He didn't listen to this
I've
episode.
been just doing things, man.
We got the soundboard. We don't need him.
Oh, I love Enrique.
All right.
I'm coming in hot.
Okay. See, we don't need.
Hello there.
All right. That's enough with the soundboard.
All right.
All right.
That's going to do it. Thanks for listening. New episodes coming at you for the next several weeks at least.
Very least.
And, and then from there on out, I don't like to predict the future too much.
The best.
The world may end between now and the next few weeks.
Hard times for all.
Things have been pretty rough.
Here we go.
Have you checked the news?
It's cold.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's quite depressing. Just listen to us. Until next time, I'm Gabby.
It's Jerry.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tolerating this episode of the Board Game Snobs. Stay classy.